What's up, creative crafters? For this project, I start with 3 of the 4x6 picture frames from Dollar Tree, and these are the ones that has the easel in the back of them. And like usual, I remove the backing, brackets, metal tabs that's in the side, and I set the glass to the side. Next, I take them apart, and I'll link below a detailed video showing how I do that if you haven't seen it in a previous video. All I do is apply pressure one way in the corners and apply pressure the opposite direction on the other side so that they slide apart. So once all the pieces are all separated, you'll just use 2 of the long pieces and 1 of the short pieces to create a triangle. So just position and glue the angle of the long piece next to the angle of the short piece so that it's seamless. And you want to let this sit and cure for a few minutes before moving it around, and then flip the triangle over face down. And I take some wooden craft sticks and I cut them up into like small little pieces. And I also cut those up in the shape of a triangle, and I glue those in each corner so that it strengthens the bond in the joints where they're connected. And I let that sit for several minutes before moving it around. Of course, I repeat the same thing for my other 2 frames. Now I use some of the clear acrylic gems from Dollar Tree. I line and I glue several gems in a row, just kind of prepping these up. And all I do is add a very small drop of hot glue between each one. And this is just going to be a lot nicer and neater for each one. And to make sure they're straight, I use a ruler or anything with a straight edge, really, to keep them in line. Now, this not only makes this next step so much easier, but it also looks much nicer because there's very little hot glue being used for this next part, which is gluing the gems on the inside of the triangle. So you just want to fill that out. I just glue the gems in rows and filled out the triangle. Now I connect the triangle frames all together, and you can actually just glue the frames directly to each other if you want, or you can do like I did, which was I added the rows of gems or acrylic gems along the edges in between them. I don't add gems on the sides that'll be against the wall though. Now, if you do add the gems, when you go to lay this down, you'll want to use something like a bowl so it doesn't lose its shape. You don't want it to lay flat and the gems come apart. Just grab like some little bowl to keep it in while you're working on these other steps. So I just lay my structure on a piece of foam board and I trace out the outline. Now you can shape this to where it would have more of a round shape if you want. So once the lines are traced, I cut the backing out. Another thing is to make sure the foam doesn't stick out of either side. So you can trim up the bottom and trim down the top a bit more. So it's not quite as big as the actual light itself. Now I add glue to the crease of the frames or the indentation where the actual picture frame would go, and I hold it over my foam and actually kind of grab it so that it fits perfect in the back. And I go on the outside with a nice thick bead of hot glue to ensure it's in place. Next, I use a craft stick, and I'm just going to use this to kind of sturdy the structure. I cut it to fit directly in the indentation on the back frame, like in the center, and I run that from one end to the edge of or the lip of the foam board. Next, I'll work on the bottom of the cone so it'll have more of a finished look. I glue the acrylic gems along the bottom, making the gems kind of all blend together. And I also glue a single chandelier gem directly to the center of the bottom of the foam board. And to add lights, I'm just going to use a strand of the Dollar Tree fairy lights here. And I'll just hold the battery pack up against the back of the foam. I trace out the outline of the battery pack and I cut it out. And then I just place my battery pack inside of that hole so I can easily turn the switch on and off. Now, even with all this, it's still very, very lightweight. So you may want to just use command strips, but I use a little wooden block from the Tumble Tower game. I glue one of the metal brackets that came with one of the 4x6 picture frames. I just glue it to the block and then I add the screws in it by hand. And I glue the block to the top of the craft stick where the block is laying flush with the foam so that the bracket is the only part that's sticking out from the back, and it's just by a little bit, just enough to grab onto my hook. And finally, I need to create a clear platform so that the light will shine through it, and so I can display my lovely candle on top. So I use one of the glass panels that came in the 4x6 frames. And I recommend sanding the edges to make them smooth. So now I glue that piece to the inside and on top of the craft stick. And then I hang it on the wall. And this is the final result. I wanted to post this video today and keep my promise of having 3 winners today. So I Googled a random comment picker to randomly pick 3 winners in the comment section of the last video. And I don't have 3 packs of ivory taper candles, but I do have some. So I'm going to divide those up with the rest of what all they sent me, 3 ways to give to the winners, so long as you claim your prize before the deadline. Congratulations, and I hope you enjoy these. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Happy crafting, my friends.